just getting the share link. Okay. All right. So we are live. Hi, everybody. Welcome to this live here. Let me just send one more link out. And I'm sending it to you, Tony.
Thanks.
Oh, no, you have it in the group. Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
Okay. 1 second then. All righty. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm excited to be here with Tony Sayers. And Tony and I met a short while ago and have been having exciting conversations in a group that I also want to say hi to about our current situation in the world and all the factors that are playing into it and what's going on behind the scenes and what we need to be aware of and look out for, but also how this is a potential and opportunity for growth for all of us individually, personally, but for the collective at large too. So I'm excited to chat with Tony here one-on-one with you guys. Of course, in the chat, post your questions and your comments as we go through. And I'm excited to be doing this. Tony, thank you so much for joining me. And how are you? Where are you right now anyways?
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Karleen. Where am I? I'm in the middle of Wales, which is not the place that I was expecting to be at the start of the year. I was over where you were in Playa del Carmen in Mexico, and yeah, just absolutely crazy. As I said to you off air, like if we'd have thought that all this would have happened in so many months, it's really been like Book of Revelation stuff, hasn't it? It's just waiting for the next chapters to roll out almost. So yeah, I came back here thinking it might be a better place to be, but yeah, everywhere at the moment's a little bit on the edge. So yeah, just doing what I can, and people here are very, very obedient. So maybe I'm here to try and
shake it up a little,
shake it up a bit, because I'm a real free spirit myself, and yeah. So everyone's queuing up. We've got traffic light systems at supermarkets coming in, and yeah. So I don't know why, but here the rules seem to be crazier here than anywhere else. I mean, last week we were told that we couldn't have sex with someone in another household.
I know, I read about that. I was like,
yeah, but then 2 days later we were told that we can, or 3 days later, but we're only allowed to do it in bubbles. Then we were told, what else have we been told in the last few weeks? We've got to wear a mask on public transport. You can go and see a family member, but you can't go if it's been raining. Just all these like completely mental.
If it's been raining?
Yeah, it's crazy. But what these things are doing is they're just trying to. It's a form of like mental abuse, really. They're trying. The more of these stupid rules that they come out with, they're trying to break down the human psyche. Bit by bit, and it's turning people a little bit crazy, not just here but everywhere, because it's putting people in trauma, and it's triggering them on a very deep subconscious level. So there is method in there, what appears to be madness to us, because bit by bit they're just breaking down, or they're attempting to break down the human spirit. And making people complicit and making people obedient. And the more people obey and the more that we're complicit, then that becomes the trend, and that becomes how, we get so beaten down. That's how we'll be in the long run. So it's very important that we don't do that, and we disobey and make our stand whenever possible. But yeah, the rules here have been totally crazy. Absolutely.
Man, so how do you see it? What do you see? Let's just cut to the chase and get to the core of this. What do you see as the essential issue underlying this all? What is going on here? What are we really dealing with? Is this a power grab? Is this evolution? What's your perspective on this?
What I believe it is that on a 3D physical level, it looks pretty bad at the moment, for humanity as a whole. But there's a great quote that says, before demons get cast out, they become more violent, right? And I know this through some of my work that I do in terms of energy work and energy clearing, and it's very much the case. And within that field as well, there's often a desperation to, how they try and hijack people and sessions and stuff like that. And there's also a very good book by Jeremy Locke called The End of All Evil that also kind of echoes that, in terms of saying that, before evil subsides, it gets more intense, and it's kind of evil in its death throes. And I think what we're seeing here is that process happening. And I think what we have the opportunity to do via our actions, just by doing podcasts like this, putting information out, activism, sharing information, is we have the opportunity to speed that up. And the sooner people wake up, the less suffering that we have to go through, is the way I see it. Of course, they have their agenda and what they want to implement, with all the smart grids and the AI tech tracked and vaccines and everything like that. But they can only do that, if we come to the party. And so the more of us that reject this, the more of us that speak out, then we're much more than them. There's way more of us than there is them. So we've always had the power. They know that we've always had the power. And there's a great quote or not quote, but a scene in The Bug's Life in the Disney film, where the grasshoppers ruling over the ants, and they say that, if those ants ever realize that there's more than, that they have the power, then it's our life's over. And I think that that's important to remember, that we do have the numbers. We just need to, as David Icke says, get off our knees, stop being so bloody obedient and acting like sheep, and realize that we are powerful. What they've done over generations is beat us down into submission. There's a subconscious wound running through humanity, which is that of not feeling good enough and not feeling worthy. And I would say, 95% probably are running that at some level, depending on how much inner work you've done. But that obviously comes from childhood trauma. But I think it's a generational collective wound as well, where lifetime after lifetime we've been, as I say, beaten down into submission. We've had years of wars, poverty, been told constantly 24/7 that we have no power, that we're not good enough, that we need these people in dark suits to make decisions about our lives, because we can't be trusted ourselves. And so when you keep getting fed that over and over again, that's what you come to believe. You come to believe that you are just little me. What do people say to those of us who are aware when we try and explain to them there's this agenda? Oh, well, what can I do? What are you going to do about it? So they're completely disempowered through years and years of psychological programming, which actually starts at school, because or even parents, because you're not allowed to, you know, if you question your parents, maybe you get a smack. If you question your teachers, you get detention. So we're punished all the way from cradle to grave for questioning authority. And the authority is this all-encompassing, all-empowering thing that we have to obey and literally get on our knees for now. And it's an illusion. Authority is an illusion. No man or woman in a suit has the right to tell you how to live your life. And, you know, we're already endowed with our rights and freedoms the moment we're born into the planet, right? Nobody gifts us those rights and freedoms, but we've been so disconnected from that. And these puppets have played a great role in, you know, making it look like we have to, you know, obey what they say. But the sooner that we realize that we're sovereign beings, that we are powerful, each and every one of us, and especially when we come together collectively, and which is what they're trying to drive us all against each other now with the race bait in America. Yeah, I mean, they can't get away with what they want to get away with if we come together. And so they have to divide. They you know, they're always doing it. If you watch the news, the papers, it's, you know, black versus white, rich versus poor, male versus female, gay versus straight. So it's divide, 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 and even down to our genders now. They've divided that into, I think there's like 40 different genders that you can choose to be at any particular day of the week now. So yeah, divide and conquer. It's an age-old tactic that they've used for probably hundreds of thousands of years. You know, everyone's. Yeah.
Tony, what's your background? Because we didn't even start off with that. Tell us a little bit about who you are. You've written several books. You've got.
Yeah, well, who I was 10 years ago is very different to who I am today, which will probably be the same for everyone who's had their awakening. But for me, yeah, I mean, I was in real estate. I worked in banks and stuff. I was just a system gopher, really, you know, watching the football at the weekend, going out, getting drunk at the weekend, as you do, and, you know, that kind of lifestyle. And then what happened with me was that I just got bored. Like I was doing those long hours, and I just remember the exact moment that it started, and it's really quite a powerful moment for me, because I think I had an argument with my boss one night, or one day at work, and I got home really late. I'd been doing really long hours, and I remember I just stood in my kitchen and I was like, there has got to be more to life than this. Like, this cannot be my purpose in life, doing this until I'm, you know, and I put that out there in the universe, like almost, what am I here to do? Right. And so for the first time in my life, I was asking big questions like, is there a God? And, you know, what am I here to do? And then the weeks following that was unbelievable, because I was then stumbling across David Icke videos and all this, like, you know, 9/11 stuff, and my head got blown apart, you know, as it does for most people. You know, you realize the world's not as it is.
I remember watching his videos way back when and thinking, this is such crazy stuff. And I switched away because I felt like I felt he was coming from a dark place.
Yeah, exactly.
And it took me several tries to and some more experiences. But yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. But I remember asking saying to myself, and this is the title of my first book, was, I feel like I'm existing, not living. Right, that was my exact words. So when I come to write my first book, it was like the title was easy. I was like, it's got to be, are you living or just existing? And so yeah, so from there I just, you know, I realized then, because you become more conscious, you question things that you're doing in your life. You know, is this aligned with the greater good? And, you know, being in a real estate or estate agency was, you know, I wasn't a bad estate agent or immoral, but it's the whole business itself is a bit yucky. And so I quit that, and I thought, well, I want to help heal people. That's all I knew. I didn't know how I was going to do it. And so I just trained in a lot of different modalities, nutrition, hypnotherapy, homeopathy. Don't actually agree with hypnotherapy anymore. And then, yeah, I just another crazy. And then I moved abroad. I lived in Cambodia, Thailand, and then Mexico. But yeah, it really shifted for me on the metaphysical side of things was when I was living in Cambodia. I put out a video about the military, basically questioning what they do. Anyway, long story short, this video went viral, and I woke up to about 10 death threats in my Facebook Messenger from soldiers. Yeah, because it had got out to military circles. Yeah. And so basically from there, it was really weird because I felt like I was walking around in an energetic soup. You know, I felt like it was like this mud, like, and severe anxiety for no reason, like just going to the shop to get some, you know, to get some bread or something was a big, and I thought, what's going on here? Like, it's got to be linked to that, because I didn't have it before. And I didn't, although I'd done energy work, I didn't really understand about psychic attacks and things like that. And because when you think something like, I want someone to die, that's an energetic attack that sticks on their energy field. And you can actually create thought form entities as well. So if someone is obsessive over someone or jealous, then you can actually create entities that can also stick on their fields. So yeah, I was walking around in this energetic soup, and I tried everything, you know, I tried everything, detoxing, different meditations, nothing seemed to work. And then I had some energy work done. Well, someone approached me who I knew, and she said, look, I'm doing this work, I'm doing, you know, finding about some of these overlays. And part of it was removal of chakras as well. And which I initially thought, not sure about that, because I've done Reiki and everything.
Chakras? I've never heard of that. Okay.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's the chakras basically are an artificial AI implant, and they act as a plug for these entities to lock in and feed on your energy and loop thoughts around, you know, negative thoughts. And then, and obviously, while they're looping those negative thoughts, it's feeding them, because it's creating more anxiety, fear, and all that kind of stuff. And so, anyway, she told me this, and
wow. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very deep rabbit hole, and there's a lot of resistance over it, obviously, because it's so heavily, so heavily promoted in the new age. You know, these beautiful spinning globules, rainbow colored lotus flowers, things, you know, everyone loves them. And so when she told me that, I was like partly out of desperation, because I'd tried everything, but a big part of me thought, do you know what, that would be exactly what they would do. They would make the most beautiful thing the most, you know, evil, essentially. And anyway, so I went with it, and she did a remote clearing on me, and this cloud lifted. I've got to say, it was like the next day, it was unbelievable, the difference. And so from there, I was like, okay, I need to learn how to do this, and also I need to let other people know of my experience. And so that's what I did. So she came over, because synchronicity had it. She was in Thailand, I was in Cambodia, so we were close logistically. And so I learned how to do that. And funnily enough, what unfolded from there was my own kind of psychic abilities started to increase. Not like straight away, but I started to see kind of implants and things like that, clairvisually. And And so from there, my work's progressed to removing those overlays, but also the etheric implants that kind of hijack key areas of our body that they want to try and shut down, like the heart, the pineal gland, the neocortex area of brain. And so, yeah, it's taken me to where I am today with my own kind of energetic work in terms of removing all the junk that shouldn't be there, basically. And I've been doing that for 5 years now. And it also involves obviously entity removal and psychic energy from other humans, because humans are just as bad as entities for draining your energy.
Yeah.
And also through my own kind of discovery, I started to realize that what we're seeing here in this 3D reality, in terms of where they want to take things with transhumanism, in terms of merging robots with, or AI with humans, that's already going on in 4D. So as above, so below, right? So the stuff the implants that we're seeing now with what Elon Musk is bringing out, like the Neuralink, the Neuro lace, the Neuro implants, all those things are already manifest in 4D. It's just coming out now in 3D. So all those implants that are there in 3D now have been there in 4D for a long time. But we're also there's also technology that is infused with our biological makeup on a 4D level. So you're talking like hybrid technology, cyborg technology, automated, robotic. So all this tech is infused on that 4D level, and now we're starting to see it play out in the 3D level. So it's gone from just removing these overlays to this whole kind of body of work in terms of this AI etheric technology, basically. So it's I call it shit shifting. You know, it's like being a human road sweeper. So yeah, I mean, it's kind of a long story on how I got here.
You also worked with SRAs, right? Because you mentioned that to me.
Yes. What's been very interesting is that the work that I do, there seems to be like an attraction or a resonance with people that have been through extreme trauma and heavy trauma, or targeted individuals, which there are a lot of as well. And I've worked with a number of SRA victims, satanic ritual abuse victims, and it's really helped them to almost start their healing process, because it's not a magic wand. It doesn't kind of change things overnight, but it removes because the thing is, entities get in several ways, but one of the biggest ways the heavier attachments get in is on like high level trauma, or so you're talking like sexual abuse, you know, something like that, of which the SRA victims obviously have a lot of that kind of stuff. So there's what I would classify as 3 kinds of entities, or 3 different levels of entities. So you have a level 1 takeover, which would be, I don't know if you've ever seen these people that are on the like flakka drugs in America, or like they just, it's like they're so possessed, they get like superhuman powers and stuff like that. So that would be like a level 1 takeover. Then sort of the level 2 takeovers would be the ones that would come in on maybe abuse, or sometimes psychedelics if you have a really bad experience, or, you know, an accident, or maybe a near-death experience, some kind of severe trauma. And they are the ones that can really influence a person's thoughts. These are things that people I've worked with, they've said to me, Tony, I was driving my car and this voice said, drive your car into that wall, and it wasn't my voice. So these are like that they're very influential, they're very strong, and they can often try and like influence our behavior. And then you just have like the general, you know, energy suckers and things like that. But it's very interesting because on my own YouTube channel, I interviewed a guy called Jerry Marzinski. And I don't know if you know him, but he worked with schizophrenic patients for over 30 years. And he said, these people are not mentally ill. These are heavy entity attachments. He said they all act in the same way. And some of the stories that he was telling me about, you know, these patients, how they behave, was absolutely, you know, similar to the experiences that I was having in my own sessions with people. So what we know, or what they call a lot of the time as mental health issues, is quite often a very strong entity attachment.
Yeah, I worked with a British psychologist last year, and he was saying the exact same thing. And he was working with a technique of spirit release. And there's the SRT, spirit release therapy, that he used to be a part of. And he was saying the exact same thing. He was trying to get the establishment to acknowledge that, but it's still a long road. It's still a long road.
Yeah, it is. And going back to your initial question of, you know, what's going on, well, this is what's going on is at the moment these entities that, see, this is the thing that, and I know you get it, and probably many of your listeners do, but for anyone that's not watching it or not aware, that we have to come to the realization that we're sharing this dimension with a very low form of almost demonic consciousness. Let's call it what it is. And these, you know, there's a general kind of misconception in alternative media that these things work through only these high level people, and yeah, they do. I think they have a very strong way in because of the bloodlines with the, you know, let's say the 1%ers. So they're able to interface a lot stronger, but they're also interfacing with a lot of humans, you know. And
partly why we're seeing the response that we're seeing. I mean, rights and freedoms being taken away, and people are just like, okay, sure, take more, here, take it all.
Yeah, exactly. But what they're doing, see, there's, as I say, there's several ways that these things can get into people. So trauma, also, you know, if you're an alcoholic, drug addict, you know, heavy drug use, like that kind of stuff can also open people up to heavy attachment. But also what they can do is they can hook in on people's unhealed subconscious wounds and use them against them. So, and kind of turn the volume up. So they get in on our trigger points. Now, what are we seeing at the moment? We're seeing everyone being so triggered. I mean, even myself.
The anxiety is through the roof. Like, so many people have been telling me, Karleen, it's like nothing's happening to me. I'm okay. My family's okay. Everything's okay. But I can't take it. My anxiety. And I'm just like, breathe.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
So like, I even had it myself in Mexico. I mean, I've done, like, I mean, I'm not saying like I'm healed totally or anything, but I've done a lot of work on myself. And when all this kicked off in Mexico, I felt like how I felt when I was a child. I had some bullying going on when I was a kid, and you know, some other stuff happened. And I just remember feeling so vulnerable again. Like it just brought me back, and I thought, wow, there's some stuff there that I haven't got to yet. So
see, on the one hand, it's bringing that up, but on the other hand, not to lecture you or anything, because I get those ups and downs too, as you all know. But it's like, I keep trying to remind myself that this is an opportunity. It's an opportunity. It's an opportunity. It's even though it's an attack, and I know it's an attack, it's at the same time, this is an opportunity. How do you see that? Is that
the same? Yeah, because if you can, the thing is, so many people are not in their body. They're so disconnected from their body. So what's happening amongst the general masses is that they're getting triggered, all their childhood trauma and wounds coming to the surface. And then what they're doing is they'll try and put the fire out with their firefighters, which will be overeating, alcohol, drugs, weed, whatever your thing is, you know. So they try and suppress and push it back down, instead of dealing with what's coming up, going through it, working into it, revisiting what needs to be revisited. They're just trying to put the flames out with the. So what we're seeing is that we're seeing, and I said this the other day on my Facebook, it's almost like that people are getting so badly triggered that, and they're kind of turning crazy now.
Yes. Yeah.
And when people are turning crazy, that's when you've got to question what else is going on with them. So I'm wondering if there's, you know, they're being able to interface with people a lot easier because people are wide open. And so it's spiritual warfare. This is what we're dealing with. It's spiritual warfare playing out on a physical level. And you have to protect yourself, and you do that by, you know, trying to keep your energy clean as best you can, healing your subconscious wounds, and just being aware and being in your body, because that's what's really going on. And I think these times, as I said, maybe these forces are, because they are just about to be cast out, they're more desperate, so they're appearing more stronger. I looked at Tony Blair the other day. He's definitely a, you know, very heavily possessed person, and he looked very sick, and that was very interesting to me, because we know what these people get up to, but his face was kind of yellow, and he just looked really, really like, almost like he was running out of energy or something. And I just thought, I wonder if the energy supply is getting a bit low or something. But
and why?
Yeah. So this is what we're up against. So, and of course, it's a battle of consciousness.
Have you heard of Dr. Klinghardt? Because everything you're saying is reminding me of that. And then right after this, I need to go back to the chakras, because they're typing in the chat. They're asking about chakras. What?
I know.
What did you say about that?
Yeah, I know. It's never a popular topic, but you know, it is what it is. Some people will resonate with it, some people won't. So,
I mean, these are concepts to explain certain things, right? And we attach our consciousness to the concept of it, and become enmeshed with it, right? So when somebody comes along and says, you know, try out this concept, you're like, what?
Well, I've had this with the chakras for 5 years. I mean, you know, like my whole channel blew up basically because that's what I was talking about. But yeah,
can you explain a little bit more? I'll ask you about Dr. Klinghardt later when we
okay.
I'll tell you about that. So
all right, so with the chakras, as I say, they're what I refer to as an artificial implant, almost acting like a plug, as I say. So essentially, that's what we are. Humans are battery. We're massive, powerful batteries. We generate a lot of energy. That's why you know, they need us more than we need them, because we generate our own energy, because we're source connected. Very, very powerful beings, you know. This is the cosmic joke, right? Humans think that they're not powerful. The polar opposite is true.
That's why they have to hide and manipulate, because if they were powerful, they wouldn't have to hide and manipulate. They wouldn't have to.
Yeah, exactly. So imagine you're the human, and then so these artificial implants, the chakras, are part of a number of other overlays that are put on us from birth. Okay. And so what happens is that the entity plugs in on the back, literally, and then it's able to feed and siphon off your energy, drain your energy. and also it has it can influence you in terms of your thoughts and your process, you know, in order to create more loosh, to create more fear, more anxiety, more food for itself, essentially. So one of the common denominators is, after going through the process, is that people feel very, it's almost like the mind chatter. It's not to say that you never have a negative thought again, but it's like the thoughts are your own rather than appearing like they're coming from somewhere else. So there's almost like a calmness in your mind, which is very liberating, actually. And yeah, I mean, even when you look at it, if you're a creative genius force, which is behind what created us, whether you want to refer to it as God or universe or whatever, why would you compartmentalize your energy into sections? It doesn't logically make sense, you know. So what you find in the new age is, oh, my root chakra's out, or my heart chakra's out, or what. It doesn't logically make sense for source energy to compartmentalize itself in such a way. So when you remove that plug, obviously then there's a natural flow. And so you don't have to keep working on your heart chakra or your root chakra, or, you know, so yeah, but as I say, it's one of many different overlays that we have. We have, I mean, they've overlaid the astral body as well. So what they're doing is that again, using our subconscious wounds, they will project holographic themes, or let's call them nightmares or bad dreams, into us at night. And because they've overlaid the astral body, these attachments are able to feed on our astral body overnight, which is one of the reasons we can sleep for 12 hours, wake up and feel like you've not slept at all. Yeah, depending on how many attachments you have, you know, everyone has them to some degree or another. But yeah, I mean, I get it with the chakras. I had the same, you know, initial response was like, really? Yeah. Are you sure? Because it's so
where do you get your information from? That's like, yeah. But
yeah, it's so
it resonates for me. It totally because they are like you said, it doesn't make sense that source energy would compartmentalize like that. It's one flow, one stream of consciousness, one stream of energy. And if you block it in one place, then all of it is blocked. Yeah. And so for people to only focus on this aspect without focusing on the whole, it will never balance out and become one open, it just doesn't make sense like that, to work like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, we still have our Dantian points, which is around the third eye, the heart, and the sacral chakra. So you still have chakras, but not the artificial plug, the artificial overlay that the new age promotes, right? So much crap in the new age, it's unbelievable, you know.
I know, they forget too where they got it all from, you know. And
yeah, I mean,
all of a sudden it's dogma, and nobody researches like where was this, like twin flames, chakras, because the chakra system, the 7 chakra system, Hindus don't even really use. I mean, this is some kind of an easy system for Westerners that was, you know, brought into the yoga movement, but it's not a real Hindu system.
Well, people often say to me, yeah, but the chakras have been around for ages, for years. Well, so is human enslavement, right? Yeah. You know, those people were not free, and you know, neither are we. So we're living in times where we have to question absolutely everything. I mean, anything mainstream now, and the new age is so dangerous because you know, they call it the last honeypot before the gold mine, and it's so true, because there's so much, it encourages so much spiritual bypassing, you know, this whole idea of if you focus on the negative, you'll draw more in. I mean, you know, it's crazy. Like, that's what we've been doing for thousands of years. Like, what you resist, you persist. Like
Yeah.
if you break your leg, you're not just going to leave it, are you? You're going to go and get it sorted out. You're going to, so, and you know, never get angry. That's another one.
That's another one.
Yeah, like of course, dwelling in anger for day after day is not healthy, but the actual initial emotion of anger exists for a reason. You know, righteous anger, it can drive you into great action. It can drive you into making changes in your life. And changes on a world stage. I mean, people now need to get a bit angry about
Yes,
what's.
that's what and to correct my earlier thing first is that yes, that Hindus have chakra systems, you guys. I'm not saying they didn't have one, but the 7 chakra system, because the Hindus had various chakra systems, like with over 200, right? So look it up, research it. But yeah, people need to get angry. I was reading an article about how human evolution or societal evolution has never really happened or come through peace. It's always been evolved through these difficult transitions, these difficult emotions in the collective, which needed to be brought out and transmuted. Anger, for one, at injustice, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's I mean, if you're not angry now about not being able to hug your mum, and like, what is it going to take? But of course, you know, what they've done with people is through the food, the water supply, all the chemicals in that, especially many people being on antidepressants, that knocks out your ability to feel anything, feel your emotions. So you become very docile almost. And so yeah, we do need to
But
get
there's
angry.
also a demasculinization process, like an emasculation happening. That's what.
Oh, don't get me started on that. Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
mean, that's our drive, you know, in humanity. It's
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, I've been saying for quite a while now, like, where are the men? There's not a lot of. I mean, there are men out there, but it's been kind of a you know, there's been like a core group of men, but when you consider there's 7 billion people on the planet, like it not frightens me in the fact that I'm scared, but it's a frightening thing that I look at when I see that, you know, I have men with like friends with children, and they're asking me to post stuff on Facebook, and then I go to
yeah.
their Facebook, there's nothing there. I don't even have kids, and I'm like, why, you know, why don't you do it? It's like, so yeah, men have become emasculated, and obviously they've done the same job on the females as well, with modern day feminism and, you know, all that kind of stuff. And so yeah, they invert everything, don't they? So
Yeah.
we need to recapture our essence, our natural essence of the divine feminine and the sacred masculine.
Yes.
And then you've got the toxic masculinity and the toxic femininity, where, you know, there's this whole pickup artist culture, and, you know, that ties into porn and, you know, objectifying women. And
Yeah.
then you've got the other flip side of the toxic femininity, where, you know, like, you've got your Instagrammers, which is basically like porn now, and, you know, all this kind of stuff. So yeah, they've really bent us into a much more what's the word that I'm looking for? Yeah, a much more lesser self than what we should be. And but at the same time, you know, people that are doing the work, that are waking up and working on themselves and realizing this, what we're starting to see is the true genius of humanity come through. Like, some of the people in this movement as well are amazing. Like, their knowledge is mind-blowing, their courage is mind-blowing, and that gives me hope, because the more we can embody that one by one, then, and realize that self-sovereignty, and the fact that we are these amazing multi-dimensional creative beings. I mean, our creativity is a joy to behold. They hate our creativity. That's why try and beat it out of us, and underfunding at school and stuff. We're the storytellers, we're the writers, we're the comedians, we're the musicians, and look how creative we've been in this whole awakening process. I mean, even this podcast, right? Like, we're creating something, and people through art and music and some of the
unless
stuff.
The art and music supports them and they can manipulate the artists, it's tough. It's like either you succumb and you do what they want you to do, or you fight to survive.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, even poetry. I did a poem the other month. I was like, it's got to be the same for everyone. You're up and down like a roller coaster, aren't you? With this, it's like one day I'm thinking I want to die. Next day I'm thinking this is the greatest time in human history to be alive, and the world's waking up, right? So you go from one extreme to the other, right? And but there was one particular day I was just laying there, and I don't know where it come from. This poem just like came out of me, and I put it out, and it got quite a good response, and so then I put it in a video. It's on my channel, but we need to bring all that stuff back, because when we do things like that through art or music, or it bypasses that conscious filter, so it's much more suggestive to the human psyche, and a lot easier to get messages through. That's why they hate it, that's why they don't like us being artistic, because anyone with a message, if they put it in a poem or a music or a song, it has a much easier way of filtering through to anyone that listens to it.
I read a quote about that art is supposed to remind humanity of heaven, or of where we actually come from.
I mean, it's in the word earth, right? Art is in the word earth, and I think it's weird because there's a big chunk of us that are now kind of embracing that and starting to embrace our true quality. I mean, some of the stuff that we're not even capable of doing, that we don't even realize yet. I mean, you imagine it: telepathy, teleportation, remote viewing, all this stuff that they've hidden from us. Even like, as I said earlier, like,
but they want to chip us so we'll be able to do that. That's like madness.
The possibilities are endless, and I like it's such a weird dynamic right now, because you have people at each end of the scale. So you have the absolute sheeple queuing up 2 meters, masked up, the Karens, and then you have, on the other flip side, you have people like David Icke, or people. So you have this massive spectrum of what we are at our worst compared to what we can be, and the more of us that move towards what we can be, then these parasites don't stand a chance, and they know it. But it comes down to how quickly are people going to wake up, because the longer it takes, the more suffering we'll have to go through. That's what I think anyway. So what I'm saying is that I think we're seeing the end of evil, but it depends on us how long it
takes. Rudolf Steiner talked about that as well. He said that in the 1870s there was, I mean, not that you can put this in a time, but since we're living in time, there was a war in heaven, and the evil ones fell, the good ones won. But now it has to play itself out and manifest itself on this plane as well. So the win has already been done, but it's, it has to go the way that everything goes in nature. So it manifests itself on our plane, and then the good ones win. So I do have positive feelings for our future. I just don't have a time for it. And I don't know how much suffering we're going to go through until we get there. But I do have the feeling that, all's well that ends well. It's going to be okay. But if it's going to be this year or next year or the year after, that's
hopefully it'll be next week. Then I can get back to Mexico.
Right. Oh my gosh. And I wanted to ask you about Rudolf Klinghardt, because I don't know if you've heard of him, but Dr. Dietrich Klinghardt. He's a German doctor who eventually left Germany because he was attacked over there because of the work that he was doing. He was also one of the main proponents of applied kinesiology. And he eventually moved to, I think it's Arizona, and now he's living in Washington working from there. But he wrote several really interesting books, and how the body doesn't lie, like your mind, you know, what you tell yourself, but your body cannot lie. Like that's where you get the truth out of watching how your body automatically reacts or responds to something. And so one of the things he was writing about while he was working in Germany was that the way he saw it, Germans had been culturally possessed, that Hitler had an attachment, and this attachment had just, so to work with any German in healing, right, he always had to address this. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to get them to a healed place. And that there's a lot of healing that's still necessary in Germany on that level for them to be able, because this attachment is genetic, he's saying, like it's attached itself on that layer. And it was really interesting. Of course, he got a lot of flack.
Yeah.
But it kind of stuck with me, like this cultural, that we are always focusing on the individual attachment, right? The individual possession, but these entities also possess entire cultures, right?
Yeah. And through Tavistock and all that kind of stuff, mind control, absolutely. And it's the same here in the UK. I mean, people here, I don't know what's in the water, that they are so obedient. I mean, literally. But you go across the English Channel to France, Paris, they're all out in the cafes, not wearing masks.
Yeah.
So you're right. They cast these cultural spells. You go up to the Nordic areas as well, like Sweden. I mean, everyone's talking about Sweden being this haven. Well, I've got friends there. It's not like that at all. You know, they're already, you know, digital currencies almost.
That's what somebody told me, because I was talking about the exact same thing. Hey, look at Sweden, and they're doing this. And this person said to me, well, of course, you know, they're the ones that experimented with the chipping first, right?
Exactly. So, yeah, exactly. And the same goes for China and the Asian countries. I mean, if you've ever been over to, I mean, I went to Japan once, and the people there, lovely as they are, but they are very, very obedient. The whole culture around that kind of China, Japan, very, very obedient. And look what they've done with China. China was the blueprint for the rest of the world. So every area has its own thing going on, which is kind of interesting, but also obviously very satanic as well, you know. But it is interesting that you raise that point, because you can definitely see the different forms of mind control that's taking place in areas of the world.
So how do you see people moving out of that? Like how can, someone asked in the chat, I don't remember who, but they asked about the chakras, for example. Does celibacy help? Is this going to be
well, look, what I don't want to do is like strike fear in people, and like people are scared. I mean, there's enough of that with social distancing, for God's sake, you know. So we live in a parasitic reality. It's just the way it is, you know. No matter how clear you are, you're still gonna like pick up the odd thing here and there. But you know, for the real heavy stuff, you're talking like, some of it might already be there from trauma and stuff, and there is stuff that probably everyone needs removing. But in terms of, if you live a clean life and that kind of stuff, then you can limit their food supply. So we can't not sort of interact with daily life or people, or, you know, not enjoy people on an intimate level. But there is a case actually of, in saying that, so I mean, sex is a big, it opens up a portal, you know. It's a creation for life, right? So where sex is very much been, or the true meaning of sex has been obviously very demoralized and bastardized down the years to what it is now, which is, you know, the hookup culture. And, you know, you can take on people's stuff, you know, if you sleep around and stuff like that. So we have to kind of look at sex for what it truly is, which is the creation of life. And you know, this ties in, it's such a deep rabbit hole, because it can go into, you know, if sex is not between a loving couple, if it's through a hookup, then that child can come in with certain emotional wounds because there wasn't a loving connection from the outset. You know, it ties into all that, and you know, you can become.
Bingen actually talked about that.
Yeah.
Back in the Middle Ages, she wrote down exactly like the emotional states of the parents during conception, and the type of spirit that is attracted to that, or the type of individual that then comes in. It's incredible. It's hard to digest because everybody wants to think we start from the same, you know, but it's not really.
I've worked with people who have told me that they were conceived through rape, basically, and they said they always had issues around abandonment, and you know, heavy that they couldn't really explain, but when you go back to how they were conceived, you can see where it comes from. And the same from taking on the personality traits from or subconscious beliefs from the mother in the womb. You know, like quite often, if your mother has got real deep unworthy issues, then you'll take them on, right? It just doesn't matter what happens in your own life, you take them on. That's something that I've had to work through in my inner work. And so yeah, the whole sex is so misunderstood, and in quite a dangerous way, really, because we don't realize how powerful it is. And you know, it's a beautiful thing. Like, it's the creation of life. It can, you know, you can manifest and stuff. Like, there's wonderful things you can do with it. I'm not saying that it's inherently bad. I'm just saying that we don't,
or some people are abusing it.
Yeah, we don't understand it to the levels that we need to understand it. And of course, this ties in with porn as well. I mean, I've written a book plugged into porn. You know, how that affects men and causes psychological damage, and then makes it difficult for them to, you know, be in a loving relationship and be intimate in an authentic way. And you know, then you've got the whole, again, as I said before, like the subjugation of women to be used as objects, and you know, and that can also open you up to entities, because they like all that low vibration stuff, you know. So you know, there's so many dynamics in play with all of this. You know, but it's part of the human experience as well. So we need to understand it and make better choices as a society, but also we're here to experience being human as well. So we have to strike a balance, you know. But
would you say we live in a predator universe?
I would say that this reality at the moment, as it stands, is very much in that dynamic, predator prey, for sure. I mean, you can see it everywhere, and you know, hopefully that's what we're going to move out of. You know, hopefully part of what we're here to do, hopefully we'll see the fruits of our labor. And so yeah, but I think what is happening is that we are raising our frequency, some of us more than others, and it's going to get to a point where, you know, I think we're going to get to a level where these fourth dimensional entities are not going to be able to interface in the same way. That's another reason why I think they want to keep the atmosphere very dense with all the electromagnetic stuff they're doing, and the 5G and that, because when you have a low vibrational atmosphere, these entities can come in and out and interface a lot easier. And I think what's going on is that we're kind of, I don't like the word ascending because it all ties into that new age, but we're certainly moving up in terms of frequency. It's just a natural process that we're in right now. And they're trying to drag it back down with this 5G control grid, radiation everywhere. So they're trying to kind of pull it back down into their frequency where they can basically survive, I guess. Okay. But I don't see how, because essentially at the end of the day, we're consciousness, and we are, you know, you can refer to that as God or universe. We are an expression of that. How long can consciousness be enslaved for before it realizes it's consciousness? Yeah. You know, it's like, you can surely only play that game for a while before it kind of doesn't work. And and that's what we're seeing. I think we're all, you know, we're all waves of the same ocean, and the waves are getting bigger. And once you wake up, you can't put it back in the box, can you? Once you're, no. That's it. It's like once you've got reached to that point, there's nothing that they can do. And so that's why there's all these distractions. And see, they've shot themselves in the foot as well, because they've locked everyone in their home, and of course
now we all have time to think about it.
Yes, exactly. Yes, and the conspiracy theories, or the alternative media, let's call them that, like you and I, we've gone, right, we're in trouble now. I need to up my game, right? And so we've been pumping out information 24/7, right? And it's just, I mean, look at Sunday, right? Bill Gates, exposed Bill Gates went viral on Twitter, right, for the whole day or something. I mean, surely they need a new front man for the vaccines now. I mean, the cat's out of the bag with him. And
I don't know how that's going to work, because I honestly see, like, people will put up with things, you know, they'll put up with a mask, they'll put up with this and that. But even the people that are usually pro-vaccine, usually saying, you know, it's not a problem, the minute they're being forced to do something, the minute that somebody is standing in their house saying, I'm taking your kids, or whatever it is, like, these people are gonna, just like everybody else, say, whoa, like, here's the line, I still make my decisions over me and my children. And I don't see them being able to, maybe they'll try, but I don't think, I'm more concerned about the next generation than I am about this one.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah. But the thing is, what they're trying to create is a dependency on them, and that's why we need to try and kind of nip it in the bud as soon as we can, because you know, the economic fallout of all of this, as we already know, it's going to be monumental. And I mean, you know, when I was in Mexico just before I left, and that lockdown had only been going for like a few weeks, I was noticing that there was more and more people just going through the bins and stuff. Like, even, they just shut tourism down for 2 weeks. And so, you know, that's going to play out as the furloughs end and people realize they haven't got jobs to go back to. So at the moment, people are in a position where or many people at least, where they can refuse a lot of this stuff and still kind of live their lives. But what the state is doing all over is they're gonna create a situation where people are dependent on the state to survive, whether that be through the economic collapse or food supplies or whatever it may be. So, you know, if you don't take the jab, but you can't go to the supermarket, for example, that's when it becomes more of an issue. So, although many things for them, I think the other thing is they're trying to rush all this through so quickly. I mean, it's ridiculous. You can
sometimes I have a feeling like something's coming. I don't know. Maybe I've been watching too much quantum computer videos, tapping into parallel universes. But I remember this one video where Geordie Rose is saying, "What would you do?" I mean, he was framing it as a hypothetical, you know, but what if it isn't? You know, because they're saying that they can connect into parallel universe through quantum computers. And he's saying, what would you do if like an alien was coming and saying, I received your message and I'll be there in 2030. And he specifically said, I'll be there in 2030. And that you'd have to prepare for something like that coming in, or to meet with something like that. So I was like, is he, is there something more to this? Is he just randomly drawing some kind of example out of the air? Or is this something that, they've actually been thinking about? And then I was thinking, are we being terraformed? Like not just the earth, but humanity itself, the body of humanity being, because they're wanting to do all this genetic modification, right? For what? Like we've been evolving just fine with Mother Earth up until now. So why this stuff that is coming in? Are we being terraformed to be able to host a different kind of energy as well?
Yeah, well, that's what they want to do, isn't it? They want the vaccines tie in with the 5G that they want to put up, not only around us, but in space now. You've got Elon Musk and his SpaceX thing going on, where, he wants to put 40,000 satellites up or something. And you can see them going up, like there's loads of footage of them. And so the vaccine will connect with the 5G, so humans' thoughts are controlled, and so the thoughts will be more of an AI nature, an inorganic nature, rather than our own thoughts. I mean, it's kind of a very dystopian, terrifying situation if it gets that far, but I honestly believe that there's been a number of things that they've not been able to get recently, where they wanted to get. So, for example, they've wanted to disarm America for a long time. They've not been able to do that. They wanted a third world war with Iran. They've not been able to do that. There's a lot. This is what I'm saying. Like, when you look at it on a 3D level and you look at the craziness, you think we're screwed. We're absolutely screwed. But when you take a step back and you look at it from a higher point, you can see that and so many people are onto them now. That's the funny thing. I go on Twitter and look at some of the mainstream articles, not all of them, but people are just calling BS on everything now, and that's only going to grow exponentially. So it is a very interesting and an amazing time to be alive. But also, we all need to take action. And this is what I say on my channel. It's not down to one or two people to be putting information out there. Everyone needs to get on the field of play. Everyone. There's not one pair of hands that are not needed. Not everyone needs to do a YouTube channel, or but talk to people. Like, now is not the time to care about what your mum, your gran, your neighbor thinks of you. We don't have time for that. Like, we have to speak our truth, and you feel good for it. You might take a bit of abuse, but your soul will feel good for speaking that truth. And what you don't want to do is get to the end of your life and look back and think, do you know what? I knew all that shit was going on, but I didn't say anything. I was too scared. It's not the time to be scared. It really isn't. And, I always think the universe loves courage. It protects people with courage. And, that's what we need to do. We need to be brave. We need to be bold. We need to talk to people. We have to have honest conversations with people. Some might not want to hear it. Some will call you crazy. Some will call you tinfoil hat, conspiracy, whatever. Move on to the next, and then the next. And,
never give up.
Never give up. And the other thing is, don't let yourself spiral down into, a depression or it is a roller coaster right now, and it's very challenging. And I've had days myself, but you do that, then they win. They want you down. They want you depressed. They want you beaten. They never ever give up hope. There's a lot of hope, and I think I'm confident that we're going to get through it. It's going to be there's going to be ups and downs, and yeah, maybe they might throw in the odd alien invasion, Project Blue Beam.
You know what
I'm
I was
looking
thinking the other
at
day, for a couple of weeks ago? I thought this is like a harvest, you know, the amount of fear, because it was all of a sudden things switched from one day to the next, and the amount of fear that was released, it was like this must be a feeding frenzy for them, you know.
that. Oh yeah, right now, yeah, they're. And I think these entities are stronger at the moment because of that, because they're getting
Yes.
a lot of food, right? So they're getting well fed, and so they're coming through people stronger. That's why you're looking at people. What the hell is that Karen? She's lost her mind, you know. Look how crazy she's going in the supermarket because
Yeah.
she's triggered. Something's triggered, and boom, something comes in, and you know. So it's yeah, it's a very, very interesting time to be alive, and but we definitely, you know, we have to remember our own power. We have to remember that we are, you know, at our core, we're genius, and we're genius, creative beings, and I really feel in tune with what humanity can be. You know, I've known for a long, long time that what we're seeing is not even 10%
Yeah.
of our potential. Our potential, if you put it to someone, they wouldn't believe you. I'm pretty sure. So we just need to remember that when we're feeling like little me syndrome.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, to be honest with you, I think a week or so ago, I was just crying. And I'm like, why am I crying? Like, I'm fine. And so I dug into it. And of course, I'm sad and I'm mad. And it was literally, I was crying over the world. I was crying over the loss of the old world, because I know that we're not going to go back to that. No matter what happens, you know, good, bad, whatever, we're not going back to that. So it's okay to grieve. It's okay to, like, because it's like, that was my old home, you know.
Yeah.
And so it's okay to grieve, and it's okay to acknowledge that. I think that it's important to acknowledge that, those feelings of sadness and desolation, but like you said, not to get stuck in it, right? And to look for groups, connect with people, share
Yeah, yeah.
And through
Get yourself in the coronavirus groups on Facebook, because this is what I've had a break. I've had to have a break because yeah, it just drains you. But because on Facebook, we're all kind of ring fenced, and we're all kind of sharing the same information between us. But you get yourself in some of those corona groups on Facebook. Spend however long you can stomach it for in there. Just your post might not be accepted by admins, but at least just tag in on some of the threads and start having conversations with people, because people right now are really open. Like I've got family members who I thought would never wake up telling me, I think you were right, Tony.
Yeah.
Like my own dad last night, love him. He actually said to me, I think you might be right about a lot of the stuff you say. And like, I've been grinding away for years. Oh my God, there's been tears, there's been arguments, that even at the start of this whole, you know, scamdemic, I was like, Dad, it's fake. And he's like, no, there's people, blah, 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 blah. I was like, Dad, no. And now, because he's locked up and he can't go to his football and he can't go swimming and he can't do this and he can't that, he's like, yeah, I think it's bollocks. He's like, I think you're right. And then he's telling me
they're shooting themselves in the foot with this, you know, like the longer this goes on, it's going to backfire on them.
Exactly. People have had enough of it, and they're not seeing people falling over dead in the street around them.
Yeah.
Most people don't know anyone.
What do you think that is? Because I mean, there have been videos coming out of China that have shown people just walking and then just boom, right?
Yeah.
And
yeah, I've heard about that. I've not really researched into that too much. But yeah, maybe there was some kind of, maybe that was linked to 5G or some kind of. They've got all these electromagnetic frequency weapons that they use. I know that Wuhan is kind of a bit of a, you know, there's a lot of what's the word that I'm looking for? Renegades there. You know, there's a lot of activists and great. But I don't know what happened there. I haven't really gone down that rabbit hole. But all I know is that people at the moment are more open than they've ever been for other information. You know, the media, like even my dad said, is like they're constantly pumping out fear 24/7. And then people are going outside their houses. They're not knowing anyone that's died of this thing. Their friends don't know anyone that's died of this thing. And they're like, so where is this bloody virus? And so the disparities and the holes, and then they're coming out with all these stupid rules, and that, you know, you're allowed to queue up outside of Primark, which is a big retail store here, you know, in your hundreds, if not thousands, but now you're not allowed to protest in groups of 6 because of the virus. Like,
unless you're protesting what they want you to protest.
Yeah, but you can protest for Black Lives Matter. It's like, I don't know. It's almost like their plan is, it's either gone to pot or they're just.
Do they even have a plan, or is this just chaos?
Well, it's either one of the two. I know that they mock us quite a lot through what they do. Almost like, look how much we can do and you'll still do it. So I do think.
How high will you jump? Yeah.
Yeah, I do think there is an element of that. But I'm also just sensing, and I mean, I got the message, you know, just through meditating, and I got this about 2 weeks ago, that they're desperate, that they're losing it. They're losing the COVID narrative very badly, and because of the reasons that I just mentioned. And how are they going to justify a second wave? It's going to be interesting. How are they going to do that? So we'll see whether it's, I mean, there's always going to be an increase in deaths just by the time of the year, especially in the colder countries. But they're going to have to pull out all the stops to justify COVID coming back, because many people now are like, this isn't.
It wasn't that bad. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, but my own personal selfish reasons for wanting to end this, apart from, obviously I want to help everyone, but I'm a traveler, you know. I'm like I'm a free spirit. It's killing me. It's killing me, like, just not knowing that I might not be able to travel freely again. So that's my motivation. So,
well, fly us here. So when whenever you're ready.
I can't wait to come back to Playa. I miss it so badly. Yeah, and now because I'm in the WhatsApp groups, like, everyone's saying, "Oh, the beach is open, like the paddle boarding's open up. There's all pictures of them on the sunrise," and I'm like, "Oh no,
what did I do?"
Yeah.
But it really, that beginning, it got everybody, because I remember the first week or so, I was like, oh my God, because I'm a little bit, I wouldn't call myself a germaphobe, but you know. And but after a week, 2 weeks, there's something fishy about this. There's something, I think it got everybody. It just put you in that fear space right away. The panic, which that they came out with, it was too much.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So we'll see, but it all depends on us. We've got the power, and we've got to stop obeying, and we've got to stop acquiescing with evil. You know, you've got to wear a mask. Well, I'm not wearing a mask.
Yeah,
I've got health problems. You know, I'm not wearing one. You've got to do this. You got to do. You know.
I was speaking with a homeopath a couple of months ago, and he was telling me how people associate control with love. Right? Because we've been raised like that as children. You know, when you love your child, you can control that child to make sure it doesn't get hit by a car, to make sure it doesn't make decisions that it shouldn't make. But we never lose that association, right? So a lot of people are feeling like, oh, my government's taking care of me. You know, it's hard for them, right? Because they believe that underlying this whole thing is that inherently the media is delivering factual information. Inherently the government is making decisions that are positive for us and in our best interest. And because that's how we've grown up. And it's hard for them to release that and let that go. But true love is absolutely free.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely free, but people can't do anything with this total freedom. And
No,
so they turn and they look for where's that control again, because I associate love with control.
it's very interesting point. Yeah, absolutely agree with that. And that probably ties into why some people don't want to go there when you bring up, because if what we're saying is right, suddenly they've got another abandonment wound to deal with in terms of the government's abandoned them, which is triggering their childhood abandonment wound.
Yes.
So yeah, it's a great point. Yeah, absolutely. Control equals love. Makes perfect sense. Yeah.
Tony, it was amazing talking to you finally, almost in person, but I'm pretty sure that it's going to be soon in person. I just have that feeling.
Yes, it will be.
Yes, and thank you so much for taking your time to chat with us on my channel. You guys, his information is going to be in the description box below this video as always. Tony offers all kinds of healing sessions. Just get in touch with him. He specializes in entity removals, satanic ritual abuse victims. So he goes there, right? If you guys are interested in hearing about the chakra removal, he also offers that. So check it out. And yeah, just check out his books as well, which I will also post in the description box below. You guys in the chat have been amazing as always. I feel your love. I love you too. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, Tony.
See ya.